Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. We've got a fun unboxing episode tonight. Now, they're not all guitars, so don't get too crazily excited, but I wouldn't let you down, so there are a few cool instruments that we have to unbox tonight. So let's go ahead and start with this one. So the story behind this is I was on eBay one night, and sometimes things show up that you don't necessarily need, but it could make like an interesting unboxing or other content, and I just wanted to see this in the flesh. And to be honest, it was a fantastic price for what it was. But to be perfectly honest, I have no idea exactly what I'm doing with this thing. Because a long time back, I had a Gibson RD that had a chopped fin that I just threw some parts on and we had some fun. But imagine my surprise when one of these things shows up on Reverb. It's the bass version. So obviously, first instincts are, yes, this is looking cool. Nobody's chopped off our fin on this one. However, we do have a little bit of a butt, I guess you could say, on this. But that's not the total story of why somebody just decided to part this out. Brace yourselves, my friends. The headstock has been transformed into a banjo. No! Oh man, it's so bad, but somebody's put some custom artwork on here, so I guess it's okay at the same time. But that definitely looks like an old-timey banjo here, but at least we still kind of have the Gibson logo. And most importantly here, we still have the original serial number here, dating to 1977, 280th day of the year, birthed in the Kalamazoo factory. As far as the neck goes, that looks pretty stable, so it was mainly just a weird customization job that put this out of order for the time being. I don't see any breaks, cracks, or repairs. I mean, you could potentially splice a new headstock on here if you really hated it, but I think it'd be cool just to like give this a new paint job that really encompasses exactly what we have going on up here, or takes advantage of what they've kind of shaped this into. This is a really chunky plank of maple, that's for sure. And you can see those beautiful vintage tan lines from where the pickguard was over top of it. And unfortunately, I don't have any of the electronics for this, but it looks like we do have some odds and ends left in here. Apparently that mini toggle switch was added after the fact, but you've got a couple other ones in here. Oh my goodness, this is really cool. I didn't realize the original RD standard basses actually had a little schematic on the back here. That's nice. So I guess let me know, would you like to see me just throw some random parts on this and enjoy it as is for a fun little review and demo? Should I sell it to somebody who has big restoration dreams? Or should I just keep it as a weird decoration over here to my Gibson shrine? Next up is an unboxing I promised you guys 2 reviews and demos ago. This is the Ebony Dave Mustaine. You know, those Mustaines, ever since that review, I kind of started to like that guitar more. And as an update, it appears the flame tops have sold out brand new, at least any of them that have been listed online. Maybe 1 or 2 might pop up here and there, but we still have a couple of Ebonies brand new. So they're slowly getting there, but I'm really excited to get this one open because even though my first impressions were, that's not going to be as good as the flame top, I'm starting to think it just might be. That's kind of funny. The only reason why I bought this black one is because I was initially told it was sold out and that I wouldn't be able to get one of these from the dealer, but then, you know, somebody decided that they didn't want their pre-order. So let's see it in the flesh. Ooh. That is pretty sharp. I wish it would have been like a very dark, transparent black. That way, people couldn't argue that, yeah, the flame top's way cooler, because I'd have to agree with them. But this has a vibe all on its own. That whole VOS paint job on this, making it look not necessarily brand new, just a little bit dulled down and aged. That works great on the chrome hardware for this. You know, black and chrome just looks so good. I think it even looks better than gold in most situations. Not all situations, but on something like this, I think it fits the aesthetic. And I kind of like the way that the wording on the pickups look with this aged one rather than the big old shiny gold. And I suppose you could also say, since it's not perfectly glossy and shiny, maybe other small imperfections in the finish won't be as glaring. But as far as imperfections go, there's actually some pretty bad orange peel right up here on the top of the headstock. I mean, you can feel that. It's got the same chipping lacquer right here by the nut. Now the reason that happens is because this new bone material is like impregnated with stuff that physically doesn't let things attach to it. So I'm pretty sure you're going to find that on all of them. As you saw in my review and demo, you can score it along the binding and just peel that off and it's just fine. Or you can choose just to let it be. So overall, which one do I prefer? Flame top or black? I think the flame top is the most unique. However, just as a player to go out on a gig with, I would probably choose this one because this is a lean, mean fighting machine. And you can check it out on my website if you're interested in being the next owner. Curious to see what else they might do with Mustaine. Is it just going to be the Kramers / Epiphones next, or are they going to do more Gibson things? So here's where the rest of the episode gets interesting. We're just going to do some case history. Now don't click off the video. This back case is very rare. At least skip through to the end to get to that one if you don't care about these other ones. But inside box number 1, we have, drum roll please, we have a completely modern Gibson custom shop case. To which you're probably saying, okay, what's the big deal about that? Well, the story behind this one is it's the original case to the Dragon Les Paul. Because here's the whole backstory of the Dragon Les Paul. It was initially just meant to be a consignment, but I just decided to buy it. But the seller didn't like the case that it originally came in because it didn't complement the colors. And to be honest, I agree with him because that blue really helps pop the crazy quiltiness. However, the problem is the COA doesn't fit in this tiny new generation chainsaw case. I mean, it fits, but it's probably not the best for the guitar in a long-term storage situation. So let's ceremoniously put this back in its original case, even if it isn't quite as cool. It's kind of a letdown that they didn't do a special case for this, give it like a nice dark blue interior, but it's just all that. TKL, hit me up, let's do some custom cases. So I guess the big question is, do I regret buying the Dragon Les Paul? No, I don't, not in the slightest. I've had a few good offers on this thing, but I mean, unless something really wows me, it's like, I don't know, I've just come to appreciate this piece because it encapsulates everything that the channel's about. And hey, free new Gibson protector case. Just spend $50,000 first. And now our next two have the same labeling, so let's open them together. Well, same labeling, but very different contents. Okay, over here, I have a interesting Korg bag. I didn't buy this. I think they were just using it as padding for the case. I'm cool with a freebie like that. But this is just insane. I get guitars that are just thrown in boxes flopping around, and all these cases I'm opening are packed way better. It's mind-boggling sometimes. But inside our first one sleeps a regular Gibson 90s USA case. I always buy these things whenever I can see a good price on one, because when you need one, there's never one on the market, but when you don't, there's always a good deal. So this one's kind of beat up. It's got some scratches and tears in the Tolex, a little bit missing right there too. Looks like our combo lock might need combo broke, but hey, we still have our pink shroud here. Not noticing any terrible smells. The only thing I don't like about these 90s era cases is the headstock wedge, and that's this thing right there. It's supposed to keep your guitar in place, but when you're packing a guitar for shipping, you should add a little bit of padding, and I think that causes more headstock breaks than saves them because of the additional pressure. So I'm always a little bit nervous shipping in a 90s case. But these things are great. Made in Canada, back when cases, were still good. Not saying that the modern day cases are bad, but these are just built different. And as for 90s case number 2, this is a good one. It's my favorite Gibson case of the 90s, the Snake Pit style. Now there's lots of models that use this particular version, but the Snake Pit's probably the most notable, so that's why I call it the Snake Pit style. But it has a very cool textured material to it that's way different than these later made custom art historic cases. The easiest way to tell it's one of the earlier ones is the logo's up here. Later on they moved the logo down here, and then they changed everything else about the case. These are actually way thicker than a normal Les Paul case. But then the interior, they're a nice dark burgundy color. They have great support down here. They have a big block right here. But the coolest thing about these is they cared about your case compartment so much that they have actual metal hinges in here instead of just putting the cloth together hoping it stays. And it looks like this one even has the case key yet. And I also love the fact that they have hinge support. So you got the hinge over here that could be wore out if this lid ribbon happened to have broken. But that helps ease some of the strain on that should that ever happen. And they got it in both locations. I mean, that's what I mean when these things were built different. I mean, the wood quality is much better on this case too. But there were lots of cool guitars that came in these cases. So whenever I see one of these things in good condition that isn't crazily priced, I definitely pick it up because you never know when you're gonna find a snake pit that doesn't have the snake pit case. In all reality, you shouldn't ever find that, but I'm worried. Now the story of this one's pretty cool. So there was a guy on Reverb who listed this way too cheaply, and he knew it because he just wanted it to go to a good home. So I think his ad was listed as, I'm not sure if anybody needs this case, but I'd rather just give him a good price on it. And this is one of those ones where it's not just me being paranoid. I actually do need this case. Because this model, for whatever reason, is always missing its case when it shows up on the market. This is an L6S case, maybe even an L5S. I'm not sure if they fit in the same style case. I think they do. So you can check out this review and demo if you need to learn more about those bad boys. Now it looks like somebody's replaced our handle, and he said this has been in his closet for like 20 years. You can definitely feel it. Like the Tolex is starting to lift in some areas because of like some moisture damage, especially apparent right here. Now, as long as it's not too musty smelling on the inside, we should be okay. But that's a gorgeous purple interior. Once again, you can kind of see like some of those old ribbon designs. Now, this ribbon's not as thick as that other one that we were just looking at, but they were also doing that back in the 70s, just in case you didn't know. But these cases are a little bit different even then. But yeah, finding decent condition L6S cases, very tricky. I've definitely ran into my fair share of these guys that don't have a case, so holding this thing back, waiting to complete a very good one is good, because I recently had passed on a guitar that was very clean, but it didn't have the case, so it's like, that's gonna be too hard to replace. But now that I've got it, I don't have to run into that situation again. And lastly, the very rare case. So there's a little bit of a story behind this one. I got this case for free. It was a very frustrating experience. So I purchased a guitar on Reverb from Japan. It was a dealer I've worked with before, so I didn't really worry too much about it, but the post office lost the guitar on the USA side. And after 3 months of waiting for them to fully declare it lost, I ended up getting refunded. But PayPal was being big jerks. They wanted to give me the current conversion rate of my payment rather than what I initially paid them. And the Japanese yen has been rapidly falling, so it was around $600 less than I paid, even though I did nothing wrong. I didn't ask for this refund. I would still rather have that really cool blue Les Paul custom from 1993 with the Bigsby. So I kind of threw a fit to Reverb because it's like, hey, you guys need to protect me on this. I mean, that's not my fault. I understand there's a currency conversion rate, but that shouldn't apply again when doing a refund. So they eventually gave me a credit on their website, which I'm very appreciative of, because in that situation, the buyer did nothing wrong. They shouldn't be punished at all. So I then used that credit to buy a case that I've always just wanted to own. This is an Artist Series case. I'm thinking I'm actually going to do a separate upload on this, so I'm purposefully leaving some details out. I also want to start making shorts again now that they're a completely separate thing from your main channel. I think it could be fun to do like 60-second snippet histories of things that, you know, I can't really fill a 10-minute episode out with, but I could easily fill 60 seconds with. But this is the SG version of the case. So these were extra fancy cases birthed, I think, in the late 60s. You could also get them into the early 70s, and they didn't really sell too well because they were just too expensive. Gibson ended up using the unsold Les Paul versions on the Les Paul series. But did you know they also made an SG version? So this one's called the Sorrento. It's just a brown interior. It's got the Gibson badge. All things considered, this one's honestly not in that bad a shape. Now, my problem with the SG version of this case is it doesn't technically belong to any particular model, so it's not as valuable as the Les Paul version. But occasionally you can find these with like SG Customs or an SG Standard, and that's the best way to buy these, not have to pay a crazy price on the used market. But just kind of a cool yesteryear case. I'm glad I can have one for display on my museum. All right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.